Hi, and welcome to your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated but never duplicated. Now, one of the reasons why we're in the position we're in, ladies and gentlemen, is because, as I mentioned to you before, we talk about things others don't talk about. And today is going to be no different. And I want to tell you, I've got some news, this breaking news. It's not going to make some of you happy, but my motto here is I don't sugarcoat anything. You're going to get the facts and the truth from me each and every time. Now, so the topic of the show today is Joe Biden. Is he in or is he out? Will he go or will he stay? And I'm going to answer my own question. If the Democrats have any common sense after the news that was leaked today, Joe Biden will be out. Should be out by tomorrow. Now, let me just tell you what I'm talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Biden, everybody wants to say that Joe Biden had a bad night on last Thursday night. Well, Joe Biden had more than just a bad night. Joe Biden was a train wreck. Okay? I'm going to tell you something. I told people going into that debate, I said, if Joe Biden can just hold his own in that debate, Joe Biden can pretty much sew this up. And what did he do? It was his worst performance of his political career. And he basically blew up any chance that he had to win this election. Now, I want to give you a little, before I give you the news, I want to give you a little bit of a background. Joe Biden, by all measures, has been a good president. He's got a track record to show it. The economy is on the upswing, inflation is on the downswing. Uh, he's passed major infrastructure bills. He's passed several bills. He's got a good track record. He's contained the war with Ukraine and Russia. Listen, in the meantime, Donald Trump has been the only president or former president in the history of this country to be convicted of felonies, 34 of them to be exact. So in reality, there's no way in hell that Donald Trump should be within a hair of Joe Biden for this election in November. There's no way. There's no way in God's screen on God's screen that Joe Biden should not be at least 10 to 15 points ahead of Donald Trump right now. He's been convicted. And he has at least three other felony trials awaiting him. Ladies and gentlemen, so here's the deal. Joe Biden calls in this morning to the Morning Joe program on MSNBC. He calls in and they ask him, is he fit to be president for the next 4 years? He insists he's in great shape. He's going to beat Trump and he's in to stay. And he doesn't care what anybody says. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if Joe Biden really, really, really cares about this country, and he really, really cares about the senators and the congresspeople that are running along with him in 2024, he should graciously bow out. I mean, there's no other alternative. At his age is a problem that is not going to change. It is not going to go away. When you look at the people and you look at the polling, 72% of the people feel that Joe Biden is too old to be president with his condition for the next 4 years. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not going to change. He's not going to get any younger. And if you know anything about, which a lot of you do, you've had people that suffer from the same thing that Joe is suffering from. And it doesn't get any better. I've never seen it. I've had relatives that suffer from the same disease he has. They never get better, they get worse. And Joe's polling numbers are getting worse, ladies and gentlemen. So let me just give you the breaking news that nobody's talking about. An internal poll that was released earlier today showed that Joe Biden is now behind Donald Trump in 3 major swing states by double digits. And those states are North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. 3 major swing states, and he's behind by double digits. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the same race as when he and Trump were within the margin of error. It was going back and forth, 2 or 3 points. No. We now are having a double-digit lead in swing states, which he has to win. He has to win, and he's not up to the task. So now you're getting calls from sitting Congress members, sitting senators, and others calling for him to drop out of this race. Now, along with that, one of the engineers, and I'm going to call them engineers, for the election of Barack Obama and his re-election by the name of Axelrod, okay? Axelrod came out and said that Joe Biden is more likely to lose by a landslide than he is by a narrow margin victory, okay? See, everybody can see the handwriting on the wall except Biden's handlers and his family members. And they want to stick by old Joe and talk about what he's done in the past and how he's come back in the past. Well, that's fine and dandy. But he didn't come back from this kind of illness, this type of mental condition, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't come back from that. He came back from something else. And this, as I said before, is not going to go away. The conversation, as anybody will tell you, as long as this conversation is about Joe Biden, he's losing. And he has no way, and he had an opportunity on Thursday night to put this conversation back on Donald Trump and basically assure himself as a shoo-in on November the 5th. But he didn't do that. And what makes matters worse, the debate got so bad and it turned a lot of people off. Well, they stop talking about the issues and start talking about a golfing game. I mean, nobody tuned into a presidential debate to hear about a golf game. They tuned in to and expecting to hear 2 mature, intelligent individuals, which they knew one of them was not, talk about major issues such as inflation, such as food costs, such as gasoline costs, such as taxes, okay, such as abortion issues, okay, women's right to choose, women's right to life. That's what they tuned in to hear about. Civil rights, okay? They didn't tune in to hear about no golf game. And Joe, I knew as soon as Joe was asked the first question and he started to answer, I knew right then, as many of you did, it's going to be a bad night for Joe. His voice was rasping, okay? And he began stammering. Now, let me just say one thing to you. I'm going to tell you what I suggest. Because we don't have a lot of time. And we've already wasted a week, okay? We wasted a week. So here's what I would suggest. Somebody has to convince Joe Biden to submit himself to a cognitive test. But the same is true with Donald Trump, because Donald Trump has to have an independent outsider, not somebody from Walter Reed, an independent outside neurosurgeon or whatever, to perform these tests on him and Joe Biden. Because listen, Donald Trump is no better, Okay, Donald Trump spent 90 minutes on that daggum debate, and all he did was spend 90 minutes looking in the rearview mirror, talking about the past, what he did when he was president, and how great it was. But what Joe Biden did not do, when this guy started talking about how great his term was, he did not talk about the fact that this guy presided over hundreds of thousands of Americans dying from COVID, and he had no idea of how to stop it. His suggestion was to drink some bleach. Okay. I mean, this just goes to show. Okay. And here's a guy that is now standing before the American public with 34 felony convictions, asking the United States voters to do something they've never done before, and that is to vote in as president a convicted felon with more convictions to come. If he gets in, they'll go away. But Joe Biden should know that you've got to do everything you can to keep this guy out. And now we find ourselves in a position where Joe Biden is not only running against the president, a former president, he's also running against the Supreme Court. And I might say Trump's Supreme Court. Even though John Roberts had the audacity to stand before the cameras here about a year ago and say there's no such thing as an Obama court, as a Trump court. You're lying through your teeth, John Roberts. But these are all the things that Biden has to deal with. And we won't even mention that wacko down in Florida, Judge Cannon. But Biden has to take this seriously, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe, I understand his ego won't allow him to step down and won't allow him to really realize what the state of this country is facing if Donald Trump gets back in office. You think his first term was bad? It was nothing compared to what it will be if he gets back in there. Okay? So, as I'm going to tell you right now, the powers that be in the Democratic Party, I don't care what Joe Biden says, they've got to get him out of there. And it's got to be done within just a matter of the next 5 to 7 days. You cannot waste any more time. When you dig a hole and you get 10 points behind and you've got about 4 months to go, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to do what is best for the country and for the party, Democratic Party. Joe Biden has to go. It's as simple as that. I hate to say it. He's not a bad man. Like I said, he's done a very good job in the 3.5 years he's been in there. But the American public is not convinced that he's up to the task for another 4 years. And that's what he's asking people to believe. When he's showing them something different. You know, when you're faced with trauma, you never ever forget that trauma, ladies and gentlemen. And what people saw on that Thursday night, at that debate, they're never going to forget that. They will never forget what the performance was from Joe Biden in that debate with Donald J. Trump. He had a clear opportunity, okay, to mop the floor with Donald Trump, as somebody would say. He had an opportunity to do that, to put him away, call him out for all of his lies, and show people where he was lying and how he was lying. He had an opportunity to show the people and remind the people of just how bad America was for everybody except the 1%ers under the 4 years of Donald Trump. And he didn't do it. So, Joe, I'm sorry. We love you. We like what you've done. You've been good for the country. You rescued us from the COVID, okay? You done all you could do, sir. And nobody, matter of fact, in the first 3 years, there's no president's ever done as much as you have done, okay, to put this country back in a decent shape, considering what you inherited. But Joe, you should have stuck to your original plan, and that was to run for 1 year, one term. One term. You said you would not run for re-election. But somewhere along the way, you fell into the same trap that most politicians do. See, they get in and it gets too good to them. And when you're the president of the United States, when you're considered the most powerful man in the country, listen, that power goes straight to your head. Okay? Everybody's respecting you. Everybody's recognizing you. They're doing everything they can, just like the insiders are doing right now. Okay? They're singing your praises and they're going along. They're in a ship that is sinking and they refuse to get out of it. Okay? They refuse to get out. Okay? You have good intentions, Joe. We all understand that. We know that you, in your head, you believe that you have the capacity to lead this country for another 4 years. But Joe, your body is saying something different. Your health is saying something different. Don't you care about your health? Look, man, you accomplished what you set out to accomplish. You wanted to be president. You've been president for 3.5 years. You will be president for 4 years once you serve out this term, sir. But it's time to step aside. Your time is up. Now, like I said, now I know a lot of you people out there don't want to hear that. But I'm telling you, if you're a Democrat and you want to be a winner in November, that's the only choice you have. Joe Biden is not going to come back from double-digit deficit. He is not going to do it. Now, if this margin was 2 to 3 points, I would say, hey, let him stay in there and he can probably dig himself out. But when that deficit gets down to double digits, 10, 11, 12, forget it. He's not going to come back. I'm going to tell you, he's not, nobody ever has. He's not going to come back. So it's time for Joe to accept reality. It's time for Dr. Jill to accept reality. It's time for his daughter to accept reality. It's time for the other senators and congressmen and Jim Clyburn and all those people. You've got to accept reality if you want to be a winner in November. Anything less is insufficient and inappropriate, and it's out of character. Use your head, folks. You guys are smarter than that. You know better. You can look at the poll numbers, and let me just tell you, the poll I talked about was an internal poll. What does that mean? That means it's an internal poll, a Democratic poll. This was not something that was by a major university or no, this was an internal poll. It was leaked. It was not reported. It was leaked that showed that what I just told you, he in North Carolina is behind by double digits. In Georgia, a state that he won in 2020, he's behind double digits. In Arizona, a state he won in 2020, he's behind by double digits. Ladies and gentlemen, he's not going to overcome that. He will not overcome that. Okay? And he will not overcome the mere fact that regardless of how beloved he is, regardless of what he's done in the past, he has not convinced the American public by large enough numbers that he is in a position to be the man to carry this country forward for the next 4 years. There's an awful lot of doubt, and he's not done anything. He's not done anything to convince them. And let me just tell you, there's no guarantee there will be a second debate in September. All right? There's no, look, let's just be realistic. There's no guarantee that Donald Trump will show up. Because at this rate, what does he have to gain? All right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say it and I hate to break it to you, but hey, Joe Biden has to step aside, and it has to be soon. Sooner rather than later. Now, I'm not suggesting that he resign, but I'm saying he has to withdraw from the race for 2024. He can serve out the rest of his term, but he's not going to win another term, ladies and gentlemen. When you start getting down double digits in this late stage of the game, you got to be a hell of a man and have a hell of a lot of things going for you. And let me just tell you this. And one of the reasons why Joe Biden is behind like he is because Joe Biden, not only did he fail the debate, but Joe Biden, so far, I don't know why he and his team, his campaign has not done it, but they have not really told the American public about all the good things he's done in the 3.5 years he's been there. Most people don't know that. You know, people don't understand that. And yet you let Trump come along and lie and say the grocery prices have been up double and triple and all of this and the inflation, he left Joe Biden, no inflation, all he had to do was leave. He's a liar. But Joe Biden was not abreast enough to call him out on these lines, to straighten him out on the lines, to speak up for himself, to talk about what he has done. I mean, and then what he's going to do, because one of the things certainly Donald Trump didn't state, and he never has, what he's going to do, because Donald Trump doesn't have any policies about the future, what he wants to do, except for one. He wants to cut the taxes for the rich. Okay? And the rest of us will have to bite the dust. And I merely mean bite the dust if he gets back in there, because he's telling you what he's going to do. And Project 2025 is just a small part of it, ladies and gentlemen. But you need to find out what all is involved in Project 2025. Don't take it lightly, and don't believe the lie that Trump is telling about he knows nothing about it. He doesn't know anything about it. He's a liar. Most of the people that are putting that project together are former members of his cabinet when he was in office. They're his buddies. Some of them are his convicted felon buddies. And they'll be back. And they're better prepared this time than they were the last time. So Joe Biden, take heed to these words. And I know you don't want to hear from me. And you don't want to hear this from me. But I don't sugarcoat, buddy. And I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what the facts are. And the facts are, you've dug a hole for yourself, sir, that you cannot get out of. You don't have enough time. This is not January. This is July. The election is in November, November the 5th. You don't have the time. Pass the baton to somebody else, whether that be Kamala Harris. I don't care who it is, but you've got to pass the torch to somebody who's not in their 80s, sir. That's not going to work. You have demonstrated that you don't have what it takes. And the people are concerned and scared of the deterioration that possibly, and I can't say for sure, but possibly will take place in your health condition. Now, take my advice, sir. Do the country what's best for the country. And do the party what's best for the party. And basically do the best for what's best for Joe Biden, or you still have a legacy, sir. You don't want your legacy to be a loser. After all the good you've done, all the years you've spent in politics, you don't want to go out that way, Joe. Do the right thing, Joe, for me and for the rest of us, the voters and the taxpayers. They've spoken, Joe. They've spoken and they'll continue to speak. The voters, your fellow politicians, your fellow Democrats, and others. They're all speaking and saying the same thing, Joe. Get out while you're on top, Joe. Don't be like so many others. And spend all of this time building a legacy only to go out as a loser. Okay? All right, folks, you heard it here first. I'm telling you. So if you have any comments, put them in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, I'll talk to you later.